Hi guys, Cindy from Niroma Studio here. Today I am going to be doing a full tutorial on how to make this adorable little macrame planter basket using my 8mm super soft braided rope. I recently posted an Instagram video of a slightly larger basket that I did, and so many of you guys were asking for the full tutorial, so I hope you love it. The tutorial is going to be on the 4-inch basket. The one I posted was a 5-inch, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the notes the rope measurements that you're going to need if you want to make the bigger one. And the only difference is that you just need to add a couple rows, and that's it. All right, I hope you like it. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I will be checking them and happy to answer any questions you have. All right, thanks so much.
Okay, so far all I've done is take my pieces of rope and I've attached them using a reverse lark's head knot. And I have 4 more to attach, so you can watch while I do that. So we're going to take the rope from the middle point. The middle point is here, so you'll see I have equal lengths on each side. And I'm going to go underneath because I'm doing a reverse lark's head. So I'm going underneath. I'm pulling through. There's one more going underneath my ring. I'm pulling these 2 strands right through and then tightening them. Just tightening by pulling. There we go. Got 2 more to attach. And then I'll have all 14 pieces of rope attached. And that will serve as the base of our little plant basket. And now, you might wonder why I'm using a ring. I like to leave a little hole so that it leaves kind of, room for drainage holes. Since the bottom of a basket often gets kind of gunky when you're watering your plant. And this allows you to not have to take the little cozy off while you're watering it and just let it drain out over the sink or outside or wherever you want to put it. Although this is cotton rope, so I would recommend keeping it inside and out of the elements because cotton does tend to mold eventually. It might take a year, but it still happens if it's constantly being beaten by weather. So there we go. We've got our base. And what we're going to do is go ahead and just start out and build a row of square knots around here. So with that, we're going to take 4 strands. Here are our holding cords and here are our working cords. Now, the thing about square knots is I always do right-hand square knots because that's the way I just kind of learned and got comfortable with it. But I have noticed that most people do prefer left-hand square knots when they're learning. I don't know why, and it doesn't matter which one you do. Just do the one that you prefer and stay consistent with it. So when it's a right-hand square knot, right here, you'll have this little bump will be on the right. So I'm going to go around. Two knots. And I always like to pull really tightly. If you guys don't know how to make a square knot, I do have a quick little video on my YouTube channel that will show you how to do it. You can also just Google how to make a square knot, and search on YouTube how to make a square knot, and you'll see a gazillion videos that will show you how. Just make sure you want to make them really nice and tight. And I really love this cotton rope, this braided cotton rope, because while it does have a lot of structure and stability, it is still really soft to use. And it has this really cool zigzag pattern on it. I'll show you in a second. So if you look, you can see these little zigzags. It's about 8 millimeters in thickness. I think for this project you can really use like anything from 6 to, yeah, 6 to 8, 5 to 8 millimeters probably. And if you find that you need to add more strands, you just add more strands. It's not that big a deal. Just make sure you have an even number. Start out with an even number. I mean, like even number of pieces of rope. See, that way you can make your square knots. Again, I started out with 14 pieces. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 square knots. And I'm going to go ahead and make another row, but I'm going to join them now. So I'm going to do a square knot between these two knots to join these two. I'll do a little speed up soon. This is probably really boring to watch, but I just want you to see how I continue to join them. So here's my 2, and I'm taking these 4. Okay, so we've got 1 row, 2 rows, and I'm going to go ahead and do another row. So we're going to do 3 rows all the way around the ring. Okay, I'm back. So if you were going to do the bigger pot, you would do 1 more row around, but I'm going to skip this row and go to the next step because we are doing a slightly smaller plant basket this time. So what we're going to do is connect. We're going to do another row of square knots. However, it will have some space. These ones are completely joined close together. We made them really tight. This row I'm going to add maybe like, you know, ½ an inch or so. And not put it right up against the row ahead of it. So we're going to have a little bit of space right here, if you can see that. Right here, I'm going to leave that. And all the way around, I'm going to leave about that much space. And this is just to add some, kind of just create space in the pattern, just because it adds a nice little element once you go all the way around like that. So it's just a little bit like longer, the row. Let's see if I can show you this way. I don't know about you guys, but I think square knots are probably, of all the sort of fundamental macrame knots, I find they were the hardest to learn at first, but then it's like once you have them, it's crazy. Like you can just do them in your sleep. Just one more, and we will have gone all the way around. And it's really pretty. You'll see, like, it's like we made sort of a floral pattern, like it looks like a flower. Just tighten that. I can get these out of the way and show you. It's pretty, right? Okay, so we've created a little bit of space here with our fourth row by adding some space between these two rows, between the third and fourth row. And now what we're going to do to add even a little bit more height is double up on this one. So we're going to be creating a 2 square knot sennet. So instead of alternating this time, we're going to stay on the same one. And we're just going to go all the way around. And now we have this nice kind of pattern that looks sort of like a sun or a flower. We're going to go ahead and join these together. And we're going to leave that little bit of space, the same amount of space that we left right here, we're going to leave here. And I just, again, eyeball it. It doesn't have to be crazy exact. And this space that we're leaving is going to help us as we make our square knot buttons for the last row. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is turn this inside out. We don't even have to do this. I just like doing it. It feels really good. I don't know. You could just flip the whole thing over if you wanted, but I kind of like doing this. And now we're going to finish it off by adding a row of square knot buttons around the edges. And in order to make the square knot buttons, we're just going to take this and we're going to create a row of 4 total square knots. So here's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. And in order to make the button, we're just going to take this and fold it under here. This end piece will go through this little hole. These two will go through the middle. And this working cord will go through this little hole right here. See, that's why it helps that we made space. And then to seal it off, I'm just going to create one final square knot right here to close up that button. It creates this little ball. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and snip it. And somebody asked about whether or not I glue the ends. I don't, just because I don't plan on handling the planter all that much after I finish with it, and it is pretty secure as it is with the square knot. So that's just going to go like this. And I'm going to go all the way around. Again, I'll do another square knot button slowly to show you. Again, we're going to do the row of 4. So this is 1. 2. 3. And 4. Again, I'm going to fold it down. These two middle ones are going to go through this hole right here. And my end pieces will go where we left about an inch of space here. And I also have a video on my channel that just shows you how to do these on a hanging piece, so you can kind of see it better if it's hard to see right now. So I'm going to flip this around and seal it off with a square knot. And there you go. Pull it tight. And snip it. Careful not to cut your fingers off. Oh my gosh, can we talk about scissors for a second? So my favorite scissors, my ginger dressmaker shears, which are this beautiful silver chrome, the sharpest scissors that I have. I've lost them, I think. So I'm using these. But I highly recommend you go get yourself a pair of ginger scissors if you're constantly cutting fiber. They are the best kind. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go all the way around and finish up with my row of square knot buttons. Okay, so we are on our very last square knot button. Some people call these berry knots. I guess it's also correct. But there are a bunch of different ways to do berry knots, so I think when you use square knot button, it's a little clearer. Anyway, I also wanted to show you a little trick, because the first time I made this basket, I was basically running out of rope. And what happens is, because you're not using these at all, these end up being a lot longer than these. And so my working cords had gotten really short. So of course, you know, you have that moment of freak out, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna close it up? How am I gonna finish? But the cool thing about these is that what happens is, if these are too short, you can just switch these. These will end up being long, these will end up being short. So you could end up putting these through the middle, and you put these on the sides, and these holding cords then end up becoming your working cords. And honestly, because they're underneath the work, nobody would even know. So that's just a little trick if you end up coming up short. See, I'm just going to close it off. See, I switched them. So now my holding cords became my working cords, and my working cords became my holding cords. So Just finishing up this last little bit. Yay! I'm just gonna snip them. And we are all done. So cute, right? So there's our cute little 4-inch planter basket. And there's a 5-inch one. It's quite a little bit bigger. And if you wanted to, this depends on the size pot you have, but if you wanted to go a little higher, then you're just going to add a row before you finish it off with the buttons. Just one more row of square knots all the way around before you finish with the buttons, if you wanted it to go taller. But that's about it. Check out the notes. I'm just going to leave all the measurements of rope and what you're going to need there, so check that out. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Stop back again soon. Bye.